The Ghost Cult Magazine continuing series of interviews on YouTube welcomes in Jordan from Bad Moon Born. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you. So really exciting, fun cover. You guys just put out your first new single with you as the lead singer of the band, which is an incredible Billie Eilish cover. So first off, going right there, the Billie Eilish cover, like the 800-pound gorilla. It is awesome. I love covers, but I love covers even more when a band puts their own little special spin on it, which you guys definitely did. So let's hear about, you just came into this band and the first single we're going to put out is this cover. Let's hear about that, how that choice was made in that process.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, thanks for the kind words. We actually released an original song with me as the lead singer back in Feb. So that was the first single, and this is the sort of second single, and it's kind of yeah, man. It's sort of blown up, and we've been kind of keeping tabs on all the numbers, and it's kind of really yeah, bit of a mind fuck because we thought it would go well, but like, we're checking the numbers every day and it's like sort of racking up 1,000 views a day kind of thing, 1,000 streams a day, sorry, on Spotify, and I think the Facebook video views are about now at about 20,000. So yeah, it's been absolutely incredible to see it kind of just start to take this upward trajectory, which has been really fun. I know Voya, the guitarist, and myself are kind of up late at night waiting for it to click over so we can see what the numbers are for the day. So yeah, it's been fantastic seeing where it's going. But yeah, that kind of originally started, we sort of started playing around with the idea of doing a Billie Eilish cover probably about late last year, and I think it was probably, yeah, we actually recorded, sort of did a demo of it in terms of just finding out what would be the best way to do it in our own style, what sort of little sort of tidbits and rock and roll and metal we could throw into it. And yeah, so we demoed it late last year, and then we kind of, really enjoyed where it went and thought, we might have a look at putting it out there. So we ended up recording it properly and shooting the clip for it, which was a lot of fun. For those people who've seen the clip, it's just, we tried to parody the original clip as much as we could and have a bit of fun with it while we did it as well. So that was such an incredible experience and a lot of fun. And yeah, we're really happy with how it's going. So yeah, good to finally have it out there.
Exactly. Yeah, the video's great. The song is great. You guys did a great job all around. And,
Thanks,
it's interesting. Yeah, of course, it's interesting. I like pop music, not all of it, but like I think Billie is one of the more interesting pop artists to come along in a long time. Similar to like Adele, there are a lot of covers of Billie Eilish's, "Bad Guy" song, and all her songs actually are getting a lot of covers. But if you didn't pull it off, it wouldn't be as interesting.
For sure.
So I think that's the thing, and I think we saw that with a lot of Adele covers, that like people who couldn't sing, which because the song is great doesn't mean you should try to do it. And I like that you guys kept the essence of the band and yourself, even though you did this. It's the song itself is not a parody. The video is hilarious. I actually was afraid you were going to get stabbed in the arm or something with that knife at the very beginning. It was really close to you.
Yeah, that was pretty intense. But that little things like that, kind of, I think I'm not sure if you're aware of it in America, but in Australia, there's this kind of, a little bit of a cultural phenomenon called the goon sack, which is like the cask wine and the sack you get out of it. And so we kind of, so it's just this kind of like little bogan Australian phenomenon that, sort of teenagers use, and it's sort of around the sort of young adult community. It's sort of a bit of a big thing. And, just little things like that, throwing in, little bits of Australiana in it, like last minute. So that, and then came with the knife and ripping open the tarpaulin and stuff like that. So yeah, we sort of tried to, obviously pay homage to the original, but kind of make it our own, a bit goofy, a bit silly. Especially, when you've got, 5-6 foot dudes on tiny little tricycles. And I'll tell you what, man, after that fucking scene, our legs were just, we could barely stand up because we're trying to, so low to the ground. And yeah, so very painful experience, but a very good experience.
Forget about leg day after that video. You're good.
100%.
And then again, like I said, this good singing there for you. Not
Thanks,
easy
man.
to do, to sort of keep yourself and also honor the cover. And then I love the ending. The ending is so heavy and so you guys. I had listened to the older music. I did hear the earlier single. I was like, oh yeah, I misremembered that. I heard that. But I love that like ending is really killer and heavy. And I bet obviously there's no shows right now, but I bet in a live setting, if you did the cover live, that ending would go huge.
Yeah, well, actually, we've actually played it live. We sort of did a bit of a road test of it. We opened for Atreyu in Sydney back in February, and that was the first time we played. Only time we played it, really, because then COVID happened and everything shut down. But that was sort of the first time we played the cover, and yeah, the reaction we got was stellar. Especially, yeah, as you mentioned, when that breakdown comes in and it's just everything's super heavy, and yeah, so that was really fun to record. And I think it's probably important to mention, just in terms of the direction of where the band is going. We were kind of using this cover as more of a transition from the old style to the new style. So definitely diving into some heavier waters in the future. So really looking forward to that too.
Good. I love to hear it, man. I love it. I think it's just the last thing about the cover. I just think it's, pop music gets a bad break. A lot of it's not good, but some of it is very well done and beautifully written and, produced and crafted. So shout out to Billy and Phineas for writing great stuff that is very moody and translates to rock and metal.
Absolutely. Yeah. Kudos to them.
That's
for
half
sure.
the job. It reminds me of the old school Van Halen had that like philosophy. It was like, oh, we could write a whole album, but also if you did, I think it was Ted Templeman, who's their famous producer for the David Lee Roth era, right? He was like, if you do like covers, that's already a hit song, and then you do it your way, like You Really Got Me, or David Lee Roth later on. So like I always think about those Van Halen covers, right? Classic rock cover songs. So this is very much in that same vein. It's like if you like this band and put a little bit of the band into the new, the song that everybody kind of knows, you might actually get like. And obviously, you guys, it's proving to be true. I know it's a little bit of a trap to look at social media and streams all the time, but in your case, it's working for now, and I'm sure at some point it'll taper in time for you to release something else if you're planning correctly. But yeah, I know it's a little bit of a trap to just kind of always scope the numbers, but in this case, good for you guys.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, man. Yeah, it's definitely been really fun sort of seeing that climb.
Do you feel like the cover has helped people discover your earlier stuff and help those stream numbers at all?
Not so much just yet. I think it probably will, sort of the longer it's out. So I think it's been out for I think 2 weeks now, and it's at about 15,000 streams on Spotify. So it's sort of getting there, and I think yeah, definitely, I guess, as a segue into the band's original material, I think it's a really useful tool. The only thing is we don't have any new material yet, so the old stuff, definitely for the old stuff, and I think in the event that this sort of continues to climb, and then obviously it'll sort of plateau out later on. But I think it's probably going to be, a really useful thing to have for when we bring out this new material, and hopefully people will say, oh yeah, this is that band that did that Bad Guy cover. Let's check out their originals, and it goes well.
Right. Hopefully you guys see some money. I know obviously you got to pay royalties when you do a cover, but maybe you'll see a little bit of money from this vast number of streams and help
That would be nice.
Propel whatever the next thing that you guys do is. And so let's dial it back for a second and hear about you, because you just came in basically to the band recently. So let's hear about your story. When did you start singing? What was the thing that made you want to be a singer? What's your background? Any training?
Yeah, for sure. So I've kind of got this, I've kind of got a bit of a, fuck yeah moment, I guess you could say, in terms of the thing that kind of got me started. I was sort of brought up on rock from my dad and my mom. They were sort of big into like Queen and Kiss and Motley Crue and all sort of those bands. So that was always played a lot, like Meatloaf as well. That was always sort of played a lot growing up. And then I think I was about 9, and that movie Rockstar with Mark Wahlberg came out. I think it was 2001 or something. And I remember seeing that and being like, I want to fucking do that, man. Like, I really just want to, that's what I want to do. I'm going to dedicate all this time. And, anyway, so that kind of wore off after a couple of years, and I sort of, picked up a guitar and tried to sort of write a couple of songs and learn a bit of guitar. Got to the age of about 16 and realized I wasn't any good at it. So I thought I'd sort of try my hand at singing, and sang sort of around the traps for probably about, I think, from about 17 to about 21. I was sort of fronting pub rock bands and a couple of metal bands just around sort of the local circuit. And then I ended up auditioning for a symphonic metal band called Carmeria, which is my other band now, and got in and kind of had this big, oh shit, I'm going to have to learn to sing, because a lot of the singers in that kind of genre have a lot of classical training and all that kind of stuff. And so I ended up going and doing 2 years of classical vocal training, which completely opened my eyes in the way of, like vocal technique and character building and kind of all these sort of other, how to increase my range and dynamics and all this kind of crazy stuff. And from there, I sort of joined up, played around with another couple of bands for a while, went to uni, did a music degree. And then, sort of just started, had a band that I started, a band called Cult of Ice, spelt with a KV. It was kind of sort of this hard rock, blues, metal kind of band. And we sort of played around the traps for 5 years. And it was sort of around this time that I met the Bad Mood Born guys. And we, in previous bands, I played a couple of shows with them, but it was around this time that we sort of, got talking and became good mates and stuff like that. And so we were good friends for a while. And then I was finishing up a single tour with Colts, and I got a message from Voya asking, the guitarist of Bad Mood Born, asking if I wanted to, have a chat over the phone, and wanted to know when I could do that. And then ended up on the phone, and he kind of mentioned that their current singer, their previous singer Frank, had made the decision to leave the band and wanted to know if I wanted to audition. And so I, absolutely jumped at the chance, because I'd been a big fan of the band, as well as good mates with them, and thought it'd be, a lot of fun. And we got into a rehearsal room, ran through the set once, ran through it again. They liked what they heard and then wanted to hear me on a recording. So we actually ended up doing a cover of Bring Me the Horizon's Mantra. And it was sort of after that they kind of decided that, I was the guy they wanted to go with. And about a year and probably about, a year and a couple of months later, here we are. So
I was going to ask, did they make you sweat the decision? Did they tease it out, or did they just tell you?
No, they definitely tease it out. I think they were only sort of looking at a couple of other people, but I was very much waiting by the phone, kind of waiting for the update and whether I'd got it or not. And especially because they had this, back in October last year, we ended up touring with Buck Cherry and Hardcore Superstar all around the country, which was such an incredible experience. And knowing that was coming up kind of added to the pressure of wanting to be in this band. And I'm just, really grateful that it ended up working out for the better. So here we are.
Awesome. That's a really interesting arc too. I also know a bit about classical music training and vocals and stuff a long time ago, but I would imagine the leap for you from the pub era to after school is a whole different world. And I imagine before recording or even live, warm-ups are important to you, and some of that classical training is clearly still with you?
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Yeah, always kind of warm up before a show. It's not the longest of warm-ups, but it definitely gets me to the point that I need to be to pull some of that stuff off. So
is there anything you incorporate now that you learned then that was, you seemed at the time might only be, I know when I was learning a lot of chorale music and chamber music, it seemed like, oh, this is never going to help me in rock and roll, because I definitely have my eyes set on rock and roll at the time. And then later on, you're like, oh, well, actually, yes, this does work. Did you have that same feeling?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in terms of, I guess, expanding my range. There are a lot of things that, just sort of like certain scales and techniques that I was sort of taught back then. I'm like, I don't understand how this is going to translate to, the sort of gruffer, heavier side of kind of rock music, and adding that kind of harshness to the vocals. But I definitely think, vibrato especially, I definitely still use a lot of that. And projection too. Learning how to project properly is so important, especially with the right sort of kind of breathing and stuff like that. And it's absolutely just changed the way I sing, and it's changed the way I look at music as a whole. So definitely keep a lot of that stuff, and try to maintain awareness of it, all the time throughout my singing. So yeah.
Nice. And so obviously you guys are in writing mode now. Is there a plan? Obviously I don't know. I hope you're well. I hope the band is well. I hope your families are well. This is an
Thank you.
insane time in the year. No, it's hard to know what's going to be next, but I imagine you guys are writing with an eye on going back in the studio and either doing an EP or an album next.
Yeah, we've got an EP on the way. We finished writing it, finished demoing it, and the drums are recorded. So that's kind of been, yeah, I guess in terms of how sort of COVID's affected us. It's kind of worked in two ways in terms of, like, obviously we haven't been able to play shows or tour or anything like that, but it's given us a lot more time to write and demo and record and all that kind of stuff. So we sort of started writing this EP earlier in the year, and then we finished writing it probably about 2 or 3 months ago. And I finished the lyrics with Voya, the guitarist, about a month ago. And yeah, the drums have now been recorded. Voya's actually got his own studio set up that he's moving into his new place, which is where we're going to do the guitars, synths, bass, and vocals. And that's literally going to be done within probably about a week to 2 weeks. So I'd imagine I'll be sort of laying down vocals for it within a month, easy. Restrictions pending, obviously, like sort of at the moment with the sort of second wave, there's a bunch of restrictions in force in New South Wales and Sydney where we are. But as long as we're sort of not breaking any rules, it should be all right. But definitely looking forward to laying those vocals down. Like, the demos have been completed and we're really stoked with how it's sounding. It's a lot heavier, and yeah, it's a lot more kind of, I guess, emotionally driven lyric wise, which is something that that was a bit of a challenge for me because I've always been sort of more of a story based, I don't want to say poetic, but like kind of more sort of, lyrical imagery and stuff like that, as opposed to actually, writing from the heart. So yeah, absolute different experience, bit of a challenge, but, it was a lot of fun. And I, quite confident that this new release is going to do well. I hope anyway, because we've all put so much time in it. So,
just as we start to wind this down, again, like I said, it's a weird time in the world. I know the scene is a lot smaller in Australia, and less cities, smaller scene, but surely it's got to be hard. Pubs, clubs, small venues, local bands are all hurting, as well as the bigger industry, and it's the same here.
Sure.
Are you seeing a lot of local places that you're fond of closing down? Are they going to make it through this? You don't know yet, or what's going to happen?
Yeah. Look. A lot of the places have remained, intact and are sort of still going and haven't sort of closed the door, so to speak, just yet. But there's definitely been like 2 or 3 venues that a lot of us are fond of that have sort of shut down across the country. So yeah, it's been like, to the point that they probably won't recover, which is quite upsetting, especially because, yeah, as you said, the scene's a lot smaller and there's not as many places to play. So, when one or two places closes down, it's a real worry because, there's only so many places you can play down here. So yeah, definitely, bit of cause for concern, but at this point, it's okay. I think there's only been 1 or 2, maybe 3 venues that I've been aware of that have sort of closed down across 3 states. So yeah, but I'm sure there's more that I'm just not aware of.
Right on. Well, I hope they make it through. And just kind of for a last question, I always like to ask, because I feel like Australia is such a diverse scene, but it's very underappreciated, despite a humongous, rabid following. So who are some bands, either local to you or some big up and coming bands next to yours, that we should get to know that you may be a fan of?
Yeah, for sure. There's actually a mate's band, a couple of guys that I work with have a punk band called Fangs with a Z, and they're making quite a lot of waves in the local scene here. So they've just released a new EP as of July, I think. So they got 2 EPs now. They've only been around for about 2 years, or maybe a year and a half, but they're absolutely making waves. So would highly recommend you check them out when you get a chance.
All right, will do. Jordan Von Grae, Badman Born, thank you for hanging out with me and the Ghost Cult crew here. And, I wish you guys the best. Be safe and continued success. We'll be on the lookout for that EP eventually, and keep bumping this single.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me on, man. Cheers. I really appreciate it.